All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to another episode of That's an Awful Take. I'm your host with the most, Price Mancer, here to make the most out of your day. Welcome back to another episode of That's an Awful Take. Episode 14. 14 episodes. It's 14 weeks. So, keeping it going strong. As you can see, we're repping the bowl champs right there. Eagles got the win in the bowl. We're going to talk about that. We're going to get into my second mock draft of the year. Really exciting stuff after, post Super Bowl, Senior Bowl, Shrine Bowl, all that good stuff. So we'll get into a lot of the good stuff there. We're going to talk a lot about what's coming next for the show, especially moving forward. Obviously, we got not a lot of football and a lot of other sports. It's going to be we got some really exciting stuff in the works. If you don't follow us on social media, or me on social media, I guess, please do at TAAT Pod on Instagram, TikTok. So please tune in. We have great stuff going all the time. So yeah, happy to do another week. Hope everyone's having an amazing Thursday. I forgot to say that one. Hope everyone's having an amazing Thursday, amazing week overall. It's been chaotic for me, but we get through those, and we're locked. So let's go ahead and get into it. So as I said, going through the Super Bowl, and then my mock draft 2.0, and then like a little what's next, a little update on what we have going on, what I have in the works for you guys. So yeah, a lot of good stuff planned. So let's go ahead and get into it, shall we? So we got the bowl, the big bowl, man. We love that. So last week, if you guys don't recall on the show, I said one of two things was going to happen. I said, one, the Eagles are going to lose in a close game against the Chiefs, or two, the Eagles are going to win in a blowout. So I was going with option one. I was like, the Chiefs look undefeated this year. No one's been able to really blow them out. So I was like, yeah, we're going to see a Chiefs three-peat. But like a lot of America wasn't expecting, and I wasn't expecting either, was, the Eagles just dominating and end up winning in blowout fashion. And what I said for option two. So that's kind of crazy that's how that works out. But, go Birds. Not a Birds fan, by the way. But, I feel like I should show love for the bowl champs, right? So, yeah, like, I really wasn't expecting this at all. The Eagles were just so dominant on offense, or on defense. Sorry. 6 sacks without blitzing. You got Josh Sweat, I think, had 2.5 tackles. Jordan Davis, I think, had 2.5 sacks. Sorry. Davis got in there. Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, of course, got in there. Strip sack. What's his name? Milton Williams came in there and looked great. And the Chiefs O-line looked disastrous. It was so bad. They're just getting babied, plain and simple. I mean, that's what you see when it's 40 or 34-6 in the third quarter. Like, it was just an absolute brutal run, and the pressure was doing so much for the Eagles for the Eagles offense as well. So like, you have the pick six from Cooper DeJean, and then on the very next drive, Zach Bond gets a pick on like the 15-yard line. And of course, that's 6, right? So the Eagles defense was just able to do such a good job on containing Mahomes. He wasn't able to scramble a lot like he usually does. He's getting sacked like crazy, and they were just getting a ton of pressure while only sending 4 guys, which is the main thing to highlight, in my opinion, for this game, is the amount of pressure they were able to create with 4 guys was really impressive. And it's honestly kind of surprising that we didn't see something like this sooner, in my opinion. But, the Chiefs just couldn't get it going on offense until like the fourth quarter. But by then, obviously, it was too late. Jalen Hurts, I said in the pod last week, I said Jalen Hurts is going to have a great game if they want to win. And I think he did just that. 17 for 22, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns. Had the pick, but also had 11 carries for 72 yards and another touchdown on the ground. So 3 total touchdowns for Jalen Hurts, over 300 combined yards, or almost 300 combined yards. And he just looked really great out there, especially with you could clearly tell that the Chiefs' game plan was to limit Saquon Barkley. Saquon had like 30 carries for like 50 yards or something, but they were forcing Jalen Hurts to throw the ball, and Jalen Hurts was delivering. He had that deep on to Devontae Smith. He was getting the ball to A.J. Brown when he needed to. He's getting the ball on the screens to Saquon, to Jahan Dotson. He had that deep bomb too, and he was mobile on the ground and able to find open space and make big plays. So Jalen Hurts was doing a great job. We see it here. So just a great overall job by the Chiefs or by the Eagles there, and Jalen Hurts himself. He was just doing what he needed to do when it mattered the most. And the Chiefs just weren't doing that, right? They weren't able to get anything going on the ground. As you could see, Patrick Mahomes, the leading rusher for the Chiefs with 25 yards. And the pressure was just making it impossible for Mahomes to get the ball to his receivers. I mean, we constantly saw him missing. On the Cooper DeJean pick, he missed. On the Travis Kelce throw on third down, he missed. And on the Zach Bond interception, he missed. And it was just an absolutely brutal game for the Chiefs there. I mean, it really doesn't get much worse than that. And Mahomes also responsible for 3 turnovers. As I mentioned before, the Zach Bond pick and the Cooper DeJean pick 6, but also the strip sack from Milton Williams. And he got absolutely demolished by Jalen Carter. Thank goodness someone did it, right? Someone had to do it. But yeah, just an overall just incredible game by the Eagles. I mean, they came in there with a vengeance, and it was, I mean, you could tell. They lit it up. I mean, at one point it was 34-0. So, I mean, a very boring game to watch for sure. But, rather it be the Eagles than the Chiefs, I guess. And it does pose an interesting argument. I've been talking about this with some friends before. It was like, do you have to have an elite quarterback to win a Super Bowl? And you look at the previous winners of the Super Bowls, it's been Mahomes, Brady, and like Manning, but like those Stafford was a great quarterback at that time, in my opinion. But like you look now, you got like Jalen Hurts, who I don't really consider Jalen Hurts an elite quarterback or even a great. I wouldn't even say Jalen Hurts is top 10, but he showed out there. So it just creates an interesting argument, an interesting dynamic. We can discuss that further later on in the show if we want to. But we're gonna take a peek over at chat here, see what is going on before we pivot to my first mock draft. Bennett Colbert gang, what's up? Glad you guys can make it. Love the support. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into the mock draft, shall we? Mock draft 2.0. So let's do it. Here we are. Mock draft simulator. Let's go. All right. So if you guys recall from my last mock draft, I think it was episode 9 of the pod. You guys can obviously, if you want to watch my mock draft 1.0, you can go to the playlist. That's an Awful Take episodes playlist. Go and find episode 9. So episode 9 is our first mock draft 1.0. Should be titled that. So yeah, if you guys want to catch up and see if any picks are different, what I've changed, what I haven't changed. And of course, I'll let you guys know that here. But to start it off, we're not changing. We're going Cam Ward to Tennessee. So yeah, I think this is pretty much a consensus. Sorry, number 1 pick. Tennessee needs a quarterback. The overall roster, in my opinion, isn't that bad. And, Cam Ward has shown his flashes. Obviously, he's my number 1 QB in the draft. We talked about that on my top 10 QBs list. But, he's shown his flashes. He knows how to win. He knows how to move around the pocket. Great deep ball. Great accuracy. There's not a lot to not like about Cam Ward. So, and potential-wise, I think he has the most potential in the league. So, or in this draft class, quarterback-wise. So, easy take here for Cam Ward at 1. So, let's get different, right? It's mock draft 2.0. Number 2, we're going to Abdul Carter. So, if you guys haven't been paying attention to like the Senior Bowl or whatever, Abdul Carter has been a serious riser recently. So, his stock has risen like crazy. I think he's kind of secured himself as the best edge rusher in this draft class, as if he wasn't that already. Like, I said that in the last mock draft. He's the best edge rusher, in my opinion. He is just miles above the next guy. So, he's just looking like a generational talent. Like, you just can't argue that. And obviously on the edge. And we've seen some stir-ups with the Browns recently. Browns, obviously Myles Garrett has requested a trade. It depends if the Browns, trying to think of the word, but follow through with his request. We'll see. But, obviously the Browns would get, I think, a good bit of draft stock back for Myles Garrett if they were to move him. But I think this makes the most sense given what's going on right now. Abdul Carter to the Browns. If the Browns are willing to move Myles Garrett before the draft, I think this is definitely the pick for them, especially at number 2. So we got Abdul Carter at number 2. Number 3, we're keeping it the same. We're keeping it Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders to New York. Obviously, the lesser of the 2 QBs, if you've been watching the show. Not as high as him as I am on Cam Ward, but I do think Shedeur still has plenty of potential to be a quarterback in the NFL. He could play with a worse line, which he would have in New York. And you see more balanced system between running the football and passing, worse playmakers. So it's going to be very interesting to see. I think, this is also a very consistent move around like podcasts, sports stuff. Pretty normal. Next up, we got Travis Hunter going to the New England Patriots. So this was, I think he can either play corner or wide receiver for New England. I said that when I was talking about him going to Cleveland a couple weeks ago. But, I think he's a real gadget guy. And New England needs a wide receiver. They need a corner to line up alongside Christian Gonzalez. So he can really play any position or any position they need, is what I'm trying to say. Sorry. But just found out today that he is going to the combine as a corner. So I think that most likely means he's going to be drafted as a corner, which still, I think he's still the pick here with the New England Patriots, given that information. So let's keep it going. Next up, a little different. We're going Kelvin Banks to the Jaguars. So if you guys did not watch Jaguars football, it's pretty abysmal. They have the weapons, right? You have Christian Kirk, who is a decent wide receiver. You got Brian Thomas, who can be the one. You got Evan Ingram, a great tight end. You got Etienne and Bigsby, which I'm not completely off the train there yet. And you have Trevor Lawrence, which, Trevor Lawrence isn't a bad quarterback by any means. I think he's just dealt some unforgiving hands in terms of who he's had catching the ball his first couple years, who he's had blocking for him. It's been pretty brutal in Jacksonville, and I don't think a lot of his downfalls are his fault. So, I think that there's a general idea that this could be the last year for Lawrence in Jacksonville. So I say get him the most protection he can get, right? The Jags do need a lot of help everywhere on defense, in my opinion. Like defensively, on the offensive line, there's a lot of holes on that team. I think this is like shore up the O-line. Let's try and rock it. See if we can get Trevor Lawrence to stay. So that's what we're going with at number 5 is Kelvin Banks Jr., offensive tackle from Texas. Next is a very similar pick to the mock draft previous. We're going Will Johnson to the Raiders. They can go anywhere with this pick. They need everything. They need quarterback, running back, wide receiver, O-line, which some of their O-linemen are actually really good. Even defensive line, really, they don't have. Obviously, they have Crosby and Christian Wilkins, but I think there's still holes there. Corner, safety, linebacker, like the positions of need for the Raiders are endless. So I think you get Will Johnson. You hire Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll is a DB. So, you look at how Pete Carroll builds those defenses, it's with the corners, Legion of Boom, it's the DBs. So give me Will Johnson, the corner from Michigan, to go number 6 to the Raiders. once again, keeping similar with mock draft 1.0 there. Next up, another similar pick, Mason Graham to the Jets. Best man available, best man on the board. A lot of question marks for the Jets still. Aaron Rodgers is officially out. We know that. We know that there's a lot of expiring contracts. There's players that want out. So, what are you going to do there? But we do know that the defense is really good. And Mason Graham would be great to pair with Quentin Williams. I've said that in mock draft 1.0. I'm saying it again. But it's going to be interesting to see, do the Jets draft a quarterback at number 7? Does a quarterback sneak up? Who knows? So we're going to have to see. The Jets are one of the big teams that they can do a lot with their pick, just like the Jaguars and the Raiders, matter of fact. So let's keep it going. Number 8, the Panthers. We're going to go with Jalen Walker. So I really like this pick. I think Jalen Walker is one of the most, not even underrated, but underappreciated players, I guess it would be the better word, in this draft class. I think talent-wise, he's top 20 in this draft for sure. I mean, he can drop into coverage, he can play the edge, he can do a lot, and we saw that at Georgia this year. So I really like him, honestly, on the edge for Carolina. Brian Burns has been gone. There's been an obvious void there. Since Luke Kuechly's been gone, there's an obvious void there. So I do think Jalen Walker, he's a guy where you can line him up on the edge, and in the NFL, I think that's where he fits best. But he can also drop into coverage when you need. I mean, you see that a lot on defenses now, is dropping the defensive lineman or a defensive lineman, an edge rusher, or defensive tackle into coverage to shore up the flat. And I think Jalen Walker can do that perfectly. So I think he's a very valuable gadget guy that can play on defense. And the Panthers need a lot of help on defense. I think offensively, honestly, the Panthers are not that bad off. The O-line looks decent. Obviously, Bryce Young is second half of the season looked great. The receivers, they could use some work, right? But you still got guys developing like Coker, Leggett. So I think, sorry, I'm going to go on a little ramble here about the tight end, Sanders. Is it Javion Sanders? Tavion Sanders? I forget his name. But he's a great tight end. Just an absolute unit. He can run very hard from Texas. I forget his name, but just an absolute legend. I had him in my Dynasty League in fantasy. Well, I guess I still have him. I think Jatavion Sanders. Yeah, Jatavion Sanders, just an absolute unit. Love that guy. Anyways, Jalen Walker, I think, is the pick here. Number 9 for the Saints, I have him. This is, I think, no different than our previous mock draft 1.0. Mykel Williams going to the Saints. I mean, elite potential. He's got the size. Played injured this year, so his stats were not that great, and obviously was overshadowed by Jalen Walker on the other side. But I think he's one of the best edge rushers in this class. The Saints get their guy, right? I think this is a great pick for them. I like it a lot. So with Mykel, I think he kind of has that Trayvon Walker kind of built to him. Yeah, he doesn't put up a ton in college, but you look, and Trayvon's had back-to-back 10.5 sack seasons. So, I like the pick. Next up, we got the Chicago Bears. Once again, no different. Will Campbell. They need to protect Caleb Williams. I think that's going to be the idea for Ben Johnson, hopefully, because they need help on the offensive line. I think you could get away with another year of DeAndre Swift. I think you obviously have the weapons. You got Keenan Allen for at least one more year, DJ Moore, and Rome Odunze, who I think are going to be the two next year that are going to be super great. So I like the Bears getting Will Campbell. I think that makes the most sense. Next is I got the 49ers taking Tet McMillan. Obviously, Tet's kind of fallen recently with the draft board, with how well some of these defensive players have been rising. And I think this draft has potential to be very defensive heavy. But so especially in the top couple of rounds, at least the first round, I think will be very defensive heavy. But Tet McMillan, wide receiver from Arizona, number 1 wide receiver in this class. You got Deebo Samuel, who just requested a trade 2 days ago. So I think this move makes a lot of sense, especially if you end up dealing Deebo Samuel. And then that leaves you with a wide receiver room with Brandon Ayuk, Ted McMillan, and Eric Pearsall. It's going to be interesting to see who moves kind of like to that slot role, because obviously Ted McMillan can't play that. He's a deeper threat kind of guy, bigger receiver, middle of the field, deeper part of the field kind of guy. And I could say the same with Pearsall. So maybe Ayuk moves in that role. We'll have to see how it looks. But yeah, I like Ted McMillan in that spot. Next, our first Senior Bowl or one of our first Senior Bowl risers is where is he? Shamar Stewart to from Texas A&M going to Dallas. I think this move makes a lot of sense for Dallas. I think it's a very Dallas pick. You look in the draft the past couple of years, Dallas has taken like the most random guys. You got Guyton from last year, which I actually predicted them to land Guyton. That was before the pod though. But Mozzie Smith, I think Dallas historically has taken a lot of random guys, and I can see how this pick can be seen as that. But I think Shamar Stewart has legit NFL potential. He can line up on the edge. He's 280 pounds, and he can line up on the edge, which is crazy. But he can also line up in the interior. He can play multiple positions on the defensive line, multiple fronts. He can be the 1-point, 3-point, or the 3 technique. All that good stuff. He can do it, and he's got a super huge frame. He's got the size. He's got the arm length. I really like Shamar Stewart here. Especially when that front 7 for Dallas, minus Micah Parsons, is getting relatively up there in age. Mozzie Smith hasn't panned out, and then you have DeMarcus Lawrence, who's getting really old. So I think Shamar Stewart is just the perfect replacement for DeMarcus Lawrence. I think he has that legit potential. Next up, we got the Miami Dolphins. I have him taking Tyler Booker, probably the only guard that's going to go in the first round. He looks really great on tape. If you look at the Miami Dolphins last year, they struggled to block for Tua and for the run, but they have the tackle. Armstead? They have Armstead for at least another year, and they need some guard help. So I like Tyler Booker going here. They need a guard. They're running back the same offense. Tyreek did declare the trade, but he said he's coming back. He's repairing his relationship with his boys. So they're running it back, but they need O-line help. So give me Tyler Booker to the Miami Dolphins. Next up, we got another pick that's not going to change. It's Tyler Warren to the Indianapolis Colts. So Warren, we all know what Warren can do. He can line up in a bunch of different positions for a tight end. He could block. It's a make or break year for AR, Anthony Richardson next year. So I think the Colts need to do everything possible to give him a great lineup. So I like Tyler Warren here. It just makes too much sense almost. All right, next up, we're going to go with Mike Green to my Atlanta Falcons. Let's find him. Should have done that earlier, but whatever. Anyways, Mike Green. I had him going to the Bills at like 30 in mock draft 1.0. That's before a lot of people heard about him. He is the best edge rusher from the group of 5. One of the best edge rushers in all of college football. He had 17 sacks last season. He's elite. Like, he's undersized, but he is elite. And that's the one thing that bothers me with this pick for Atlanta is you already have an undersized edge rusher in Arnold Ebiketie. So you're going to be lining up 2 undersized edge rushers, but I think in the middle, they obviously have Grady Jarrett, and I think they would draft Deion Walker, hopefully. Something like that to shore up the defensive line. But anyways, Mike Green to the Falcons, I think it makes a lot of sense. He's probably the next best edge rusher out of, Abdul Carter, Jalen Walker, and Michael Williams. I think he is the next guy, and Shamar Stewart, of course. But I think he's the next guy. He's going to do great things in the NFL. Next, we got the Arizona Cardinals, and I have him taking another Senior Bowl riser. Speaking of Senior Bowl risers, Mike Green, he won like best defensive player, and he didn't even play in the game. So it's there. It's legit. the Arizona Cardinals, I have taking Walter Nolan, another Senior Bowl riser. Walter Nolan, he's been a top 2 recruit since high school, college. Now, like, he's just an elite player. Obviously, the numbers don't look that way, but he's getting double teamed more than any other player in college football. So I really like Walter Nolan. He's always been a great player. Cardinals need help in the interior. I think on the edge, they're fine. I forget who they picked up, but I think on the edge, they're good. But Cardinals obviously need a lot of work defensively. So I like Walter Nolan going here. I think that's a great anchor point for your defense. The Bengals. I have them taking Malachi Starks from Georgia. So Starks, let's talk about the Bengals secondary. The Bengals secondary is depleted. Honestly, a lot of their corners are pretty old. I'm pretty sure it's like it's the guy from the Cowboys. I forget his name. Like, I can't even name the guys on the Bengals secondary. Minus they have that safety who's is it Taylor Britt? He's pretty good, but Starks, he fills a lot of holes for the Bengals. He can play in the slot. He can play deep. He can, cross the field. He's got great speed. So I think it makes a lot of sense for the fit. That's pretty much all I got. He can help in multiple spots. Starks can play in the slot. He can play over the top. He can stop the run. He's just a valuable piece. And the Bengals need help on secondary. And this is thinking if they keep T. Higgins, obviously. Next, we got the Seahawks. So the Seahawks, I have another Senior Bowl riser. Let's see if I can find him. I might have to sort it here. I think he's a tackle. All right. Oh, there he is. He's hiding from me. Anyways, Armand Membu from Missouri. I think a lot of tackles are going to go in this first round. Membu played right tackle for Missouri. He looked very good. He did a great job there. He started, I think, every game there. But when we look at the Seattle Seahawks, the Seahawks could really use some help. Geno Smith got sacked 50 times last season. The Seahawks O-line is depleted, minus Charles Cross. Charles Cross plays left tackle. You get Membu to play right tackle. Membu can even play guard if you need to. Like, he's a very flexible guy. So I think pairing them at tackle works. Playing him on the interior works. Just a very good pick, in my opinion, if I'm the Seattle Seahawks. Excuse me. Next, we got the Tampa Bay Bucks. And I have the Tampa Bay Bucks taking James Pierce Jr. The fall stops there. Wow. But yeah, James Pierce Jr., edge rusher from Tennessee, obviously was projected to be like first overall pick at the start of the year. But, he's an undersized edge rusher. They can only go so high, in my opinion. But yeah, I like this pick for Tampa Bay, especially because the Bucks need help on the edge. You have Kalijah Kancey, but that's about it. And Vita Vea, of course. But their front seven is really aging. Like, they're on the verge of retirement. Some of them have already retired. Levante David, like the future is kind of uncertain there. So I like this move a lot. You get the best edge rusher available. Give me James Pierce going to the Tampa Bay Bucks. Next, we got pick 20, the Broncos. I'm not changing this from Mock Draft 1.0. We're going Colston Loveland. Colston Loveland, Michigan guy, looked very good in 2023. Lost the quarterback, and then 2024 struggled a little bit, but that was not his own fault. It was because of inconsistent quarterback play. But Loveland, all around, is probably the best true tight end, I would say. If we're talking about route running, catching the ball, blocking, all that good stuff, I think he's kind of like the best all around tight end in this class, and it's a really loaded tight end class. But I think Loveland's the best all-around kind of tight end. So give me Colston Loveland at 20 to the Broncos. Something that hasn't changed from my original mock draft. Next, we got one thing that has changed. Fall of Luther Burden falls right into the laps of the Steelers. I love this pick. Personally, you have George Pickens to stretch it out wide, and that's about it, really, in terms of wide receivers for the Steelers. So why not get that slot guy in Luther Burden? Luther Burden, obviously elite talent. The talent is there. Some people have him ahead of Ted McMillan. I don't, but Luther Burden has legit potential. I really like him, especially if he falls here. It's going to be just a great pick. Great player to pair with Pickens. Regardless of who the Steelers decide to run out with at quarterback, it should be Justin Fields in my opinion. But I really like this pick here. So Luther Burden to the Steelers. Next up, we got the Los Angeles Chargers. Once again, a pick that's not changing for me. I still have him taking Harold Fannin Jr. So I think that, the Chargers, obviously there's a struggle. Quentin Johnson is not getting it done, and the time is ticking. And tight end, you have Will Dissly at tight end right now. And we've seen the Chargers this year. They have these blocking schemes with these hybrid fullback defensive linemen, fullback tight end, like bigger blocking fullback tight end kind of builds. But they have Will Dissly being their main receiving tight end, and that's just not working for him. So why not get Harold Fannin Jr.? He's being compared to Antonio Gates. Harold Fannin is my favorite tight end in this class. I said that in Mock Draft 1.0. I'm going to say it again here. Harold Fannin's my favorite tight end in this class, and Justin Herbert needs another weapon. Yes, Ladd McConkey was great. 1,000 yards, a couple touchdowns, and he was dominant, especially in that slot, mid part of the field, fade route kind of playing. Like, he was great. And he was probably a top 3-4 rookie wide receiver in last year's class. But they need something else because Quentin Johnson's not getting it done. I think the true deep threat wide receivers are already gone, which is Ted McMillan pretty much. I think there's guys later you can get in this draft if you are the Chargers. But in terms of talent, receiving talent at the tight end position, Harold Fannin is the crown jewel. So give me Harold Fannin to go here. I really like this pick a lot. That's just how I feel. And also, Igbuka's still on the board, but Igbuka and McConkey, I think, would just play the same role. So that's why I have Harold Fannin going here. I'm going to take a peek at chat here real quick, see what's talking. Yes, Big Walter, big rise from Walter, Stu. You disagree, Bennett? What? I thought we had a conversation where you were hyping up Luther. I'm not going to lie. I love Luther Burden. I think it's a great pick. Anyways, 23, we got the Green Bay Packers, and I don't think the Packers are going to move away from drafting a corner. That's their one big need, in my opinion. I think you see here it says team needs edge. I don't think they need an edge. They have a really good defensive line, underrated. But I have them taking Siobhan Revel, I believe. Let me make sure it's right. Yes. Okay. Siobhan Revel from East Carolina. Nobody's really heard of him, but he's 6'3". 2023, he's supposed to be a first-round pick. He is insane. He's got legit potential. Tore his ACL this year and did not see the field. But he's a great corner, immense size. Once again, 6'3", 215, I believe. And, he can play great. So I love Siobhan Revel here. Next, we got the Minnesota Vikings. And in my first mock draft, I had them taking Ashton Jeanty. But in this one, since it's, as you can see, it's mostly tackles and defensive players. Keeping on that train, we're going to go with Jahdae Barron to the Minnesota Vikings. I really like this pick, in my opinion. I think, you look at a guy like Jahdae Barron. In my mock draft one, I said he was like a Sean McVay kind of type of guy. Brian Flores, maybe. Like, I like it. I really do. He's such an amazing player at Texas. Won the Thorpe Award, whatever it was, for best DB. He can line up at multiple positions. We saw him play up top. We saw him play on the boundary this year. He can stop the run. He can be in the nickel. Like, he can play pretty much any DB position on the field. So, and DB, I think, is defensively for the Vikings one of the weaker positions. Obviously, you have really old Stephon Gilmore. You got, what's his name? Shaquille Griffin. But like the only real good defender on that team right now, in my opinion, that is worth keeping is like Byron Murphy Jr. So I like Jahdae Barron going here. He could be the Harrison Smith replacement. But you can also line him up in a plethora of other positions. So I think it makes a lot of sense with Jahdae Barron going there. Give me a Mecca. I don't know. I just think Luther's better than a Mika Ibuka. Sorry. Anyways, 25, Houston. Houston kind of going with a boring pick here, but it's going to be Josh Simmons, offensive tackle from Ohio State. Got hurt earlier, or like halfway through the season, but he's got great size and weight at tackle. Like, he's huge. And the Texans just need a better O-line. Obviously, Tunsil had a pretty rough year. The rest of the O-line had a pretty rough year. CJ Stroud was sacked 50 times, I believe, or over 50 times. And offensively, like, people say that Houston's going to draft another offensive weapon, but they already have Mixon. They already have Diggs. They already have Nico Collins. They already have Tank Dell. And even without Tank Dell next season, you're going to have either Robert Woods or Xavier Hutchinson or John Mechie playing the 3, which I honestly don't mind. So I like Josh Simmons here. Play right tackle. On the other side, you got Laramie Tunsil. I think Texans need O-line. I believe that's just what it is. Next up, we got the LA Rams, and I have them taking Jihad Campbell from Alabama. Once again, I believe a top 20 player in this class, the best linebacker in this class by far. But he's just elite when it comes to, seeing the ball, being that leader in the middle of the defense. I like Jihad Campbell. Just a dominant linebacker, overshadowed, in my opinion, by a lot of the players in this draft, especially on the defensive side of the ball, with the amount of edge rushers that are really good, the amount of defensive tackles that are really good, just kind of overshadowed. So I like Jihad Campbell going to the Rams. I think this is a perfect fit, especially when you see a Rams defense last season where they have Fisk, they have Verse, they have Cam Kitchens, they have Cam Curl. Like, there's a lot of guys in the secondary and on the defensive line where I'm confident in those guys. But obviously linebacker, it's like, can you name a Rams linebacker right now? I can't. So give me Jihad Campbell. I'll take a sip of water here. We'll continue on. All right. So pick 27, we got the Baltimore Ravens, and I have them taking Cameron Williams, the other offensive tackle from Texas. So Kelvin Banks was on the left, Cameron Williams was on the right. First year as a starter, but he's a great player to line up at right tackle if you're the Ravens. Obviously, you have Staley on the left side, but for right tackle, Cameron Williams has a great frame, but he just needs to develop. This is kind of like one of those project picks because, he doesn't have a lot of college experience, only started 1 year. So there's a lot of things that need to be worked on footwork-wise, blocking-wise. So left tackle or right tackle, let him develop, let him sit a year. You have Rosengarten for one more season. Let him sit and develop. I think this is a great developmental pick for the Baltimore Ravens, especially with the Ravens. I think your championship window is pretty open. So I like that pick. Next up, we got the Detroit Lions. Like I said before, edge rushers have been the name of the game in this mock draft. So give me Donovan Ezeraku from Boston College. This guy, it's kind of hard to say underrated, but he's underrated. Like, it's hard because there's so many good defensive line and edge rushers in this class. But the repertoire, the pass rush techniques that this guy uses, he has them all. He is literally he's very good with them all, and he has them all. Like he could do a bunch of different things well. So I like Ezeraku going here to the Detroit Lions. I think the Detroit Lions are going to look to improve the edge or the defensive line as a whole. I think that's what's next. You see them do it with the secondary. You saw them do it with the linebacking core. I think Ezeraku is a pick here. You line him up against with Aiden Hutchinson. That's a nasty duo. So give me Ezeraku to go to the Detroit Lions. And he also plays well against the run. I forgot to mention that. He's very good against the run. 29, we got the Commanders. and I have them taking Ashton Jeanty here. A lot of people have Ashton Jeanty going in like the top 10 or top 15, but I really don't think that running backs are going to be that valuable, and I still don't think they're going to be that valuable even now. But I do like this pick for the Commanders. Brian Robinson is not the answer. When Ashton Jeanty is on the field, he is elite. He is the best running back in this class, and it's a loaded down class. So get the best running back in the class. Get Ashton Jeanty. It kind of reminds me, I think the best comp for Jeanty in the NFL is probably Zeke, like prime Zeke. So, and I think that's kind of like the consensus around the league. And, the Cowboys obviously spent a nice, I think it was an early first round pick on Zeke, and he didn't pan out. Obviously the first 4 years were great. Maybe first 3 years were great, and then after that it was kind of But I think Jeanty, I think that's a great slot for him. I think that makes the most sense, especially with such a young offense that they're building in Washington. I think that makes the most sense. I think defensively they're fine. Obviously corner is a problem, and I think corner is definitely a spot that could be taken here. You got Benjamin Morrison still available. You got guys like Xavier Watts, Nick Emmanwori from South Carolina. But I think the talent's undeniable. Give me Ashton Jeanty. Next up, we got the Buffalo Bills. So I have the Bills taking Derek Harmon to shore up the interior offensive line, or interior defensive line, sorry. They need help on the defensive line. You got Ed Oliver, who's great, and you have AJ Epinesa, who's also pretty decent, but they need more. We saw it a lot against the Chiefs, and they just need another presence on the interior, especially in the run-stopping game. So give me Derek Harmon to help pair with Ed Oliver. I really like that pick. So, yeah, I like the fit, too. The fit, yeah. All right, 31. The Chiefs, they are going tackle. That's what's going to happen. They're going tackle. So give me Ariante Irisay, the tackle from Minnesota. He needs some work in terms of footwork, but he looked really good against the best edge rusher in this class. So, obviously when Minnesota and Penn State played, Irisay not really dominated, but he kind of dominated Abdul Carter. So give me Irisay here, or Ursary, sorry. Ursary, I mean, he looked good in the Senior Bowl. He got exposed in that one-on-one against Mike Green. I don't know if you guys saw that video, but the one bull rush, it's a one-on-one bull rush with Mike Green. Not a lot of tackles are winning that. So I like Ariante Ursary here to the Chiefs. It's going to be a tackle, so it's either going to be him or Connerly from Oregon, but I like Ursary better. Next, we got the last pick in my mock draft. We got the Philadelphia Eagles, and I have them taking defensive tackle Kenneth Grant from Michigan. So Kenneth Grant, sorry, let me get this going so you guys can see it. There you go, Kenneth Grant. No, actually, I'll just do this. Kenneth Grant. So Milton Williams is a free agent this year, and he's going to be a hot commodity on the market. Obviously, he's DT3 for the Eagles, but still got a lot of playing time, still had a big impact. He got the strip sack against Mahomes in the Super Bowl. I think he's going to be a hot commodity. I don't think that the Eagles are going to be able to retain him. So I think defensive tackle is going to be the pick here at 32 for the Eagles. Either him or the guy from Ohio State, I forget his name, or like Shamar Stewart. It's going to be one of those interior guys that are going to be going to the Eagles. So yeah, that's the mock draft 2.0 there. If you guys have any questions, or if you guys have want to know anything more about any of the picks, leave a comment. Let me know. Because honestly, I don't really have much planned for the rest of the show, if we're being real. But yeah. How we feel about the Last Chance U lawsuit? I read briefly about it. I know they're suing for like $30 million. It's like John Franklin III, or whatever his name is. Yeah, I don't know. What were they even suing for? But were they not like properly compensated? Is that what it was? I don't remember. Thoughts on the Steelers QB situation? It's pretty rough right now. I obviously think the damages on how they were portrayed. Yeah, I can see that, but it's like it's football. I feel like I mean I know ball, but I was never in a locker room like that, so I don't really know it. Like, is a locker room environment like that? Like, are the players actually bad, especially on a place like Last Chance U? Anyways, thoughts on Steelers QB situation. Sorry. So I think it is pretty much the main idea that Russell Wilson will not be the QB of the future or next year. So you got some options, right? You got Russell Wilson, which not looking likely. Justin Fields, you already have on the roster, but obviously he's an expiring contract. So do you re-sign Fields? Do you trade for someone? Do you pick up like a Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, Kirk Cousins if he gets cut? Do you pick up there's a Matthew Stafford? I remember us talking about that, but I don't really think that there's just I feel like you're prolonging the inevitable if you pick up a Kirk, excuse me, a Daniel Jones or a Russ or any of those old heads. You stay away from the old heads. Go with Justin Fields, please. He started for 8 games, and they were like, what, 8-0? So give me Justin Fields. Really, I think that should be the pick. They should be the starter. He should be the starter. Sorry, but yeah, I do like Justin Fields. 4-2 as a starter. Yeah, like let him throw the ball too. That's another thing that kind of makes me mad is we saw Justin Fields throwing the ball a lot in college, and he looked good doing it, but we're not letting him do it now. And even in the NFL, he had games for the Chicago Bears where he looked good throwing the ball. Let him air that thing out, especially when you have a guy like Pickens, or if you draft a Luther Burden or an Emeka Egbuka. Let him sling the rock. Thoughts on declining NBA viewership? To me, it's kind of hard to think about. I think the NBA was like kind of dealt a bad hand in terms of like the draft this year. And with, you have LeBron that's going to retire, KD, Russ, Harden, Lillard, McCollum maybe. A lot of the stars are getting old. A lot of the stars, especially like guys I grew up with, people like our age, 18 to 24 range, the guys we grew up with are getting old. And they are, I think that's the big reason why, is the stars are getting old and people don't really care to look for the future. But I think Cooper Flagg's going to help the ratings a ton. And especially if Luka plays. And I think a lot of it also has to do with health. A lot of the players aren't, especially good ones, aren't that healthy. Like John Morant hasn't played recently, I don't think. Zion Williamson, Joel Embiid, KD's been hurt. A lot of guys haven't been playing. So, of course, viewership is going to go down if the guys aren't healthy. Jalen Johnson, Trae Young has dealt with some stuff over the past couple seasons. So it's been if the great players aren't healthy, like Kawhi Leonard, if the Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic, you can make such a long list of NBA players who haven't been healthy this season that it just gets on my nerves. That's all. I think it's just because people aren't willing to give it enough attention. But there are great NBA players. Jokic is a great player. Luka is a great player. Sabonis is a great player. De'Aaron Fox, Wemby, Trae Young, LaMelo Ball. That's another one we can add to the list of not healthy. But there's so many guys that are undervalued right now because it's not LeBron. And I think once we get past that culture of like LeBron is the greatest, like, well, obviously not past that culture because LeBron is the greatest, but when we can start having conversations about other guys being the greatest, like we had our Jordan era, and then Jordan retired in '96, and then I'm sure viewership went down then as well. But you did have guys like Shaq and Kobe, and then LeBron came in 2003, so and then viewership's back up. So I think it's just cyclical. It just depends on the stars. So thoughts on NFL Player Awards? Oh, come on, guys, come on. You guys know my thoughts on NFL Player Awards. Let's take a look. Let's roll the film. Roll the film, not history. Let's see. Can I just go to my channel? Sorry, I'm such a noob when it comes to my own channel. View your channel. There we go. All right. So, thoughts on the NFL Player Awards. I'm so glad you asked. Let's find it. Oh, I'm wearing the same jersey. Let's find it, right? Let's see where I talk about him. For the MVP, give me Josh Allen, baby. All right, what's up? It's 1 for 1. It's 1 for 1. Give me Josh Allen. You heard the guy, right? Right? This is a month ago, by the way. Over a month ago. Give me Josh Allen. What do we say next? Kind of easy to tell who it is. Oh, look, it's Saquon Barkley. Offensive Player of the Year, Saquon Barkley. 2 for 2. Let's keep on rolling. Let's keep on rolling, shall we? Let's keep on rolling. I think there's any questions there that it should not be Saquon Barkley. Next up, we got my Defensive Player of the Year. So this might kind of surprise y'all. I'm sorry to all my Steelers fans, but give me Pat Surtain. If we look at Pat Surtain, it's 3 for 3, by the way. 3 for 3 there. Pat Surtain. Oh, who's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year? Season, it should go to a corner. It should go. I think it should go to Pat Surtain. That's. We're going to go into Offensive Rookie of the Year. This one might be a little controversial with the viewers here, but we're going Jaden Daniels. That's 4 for 4. That's 4 for 4, by the way. All season long, really. So who did you have winning Defensive Rookie of the Year? Hold on. Where they're at now. So I think Jared Verse. So Offensive Rookie of the Year. Defensive Rookie of the Year, I'm going with Jared
5 for 5.
So
ooh,
the defensive rookies this year have not
called it a month ago, by the way.
Called it a month ago. Yeah. Let's just say I'm a whiz. I also had Kevin O'Connell winning Coach of the Year. So, yeah. I know my stuff. All-time ball knower. So, only had so many games. It doesn't matter. I still called it a month ago. Doesn't matter. Nobody was calling that a month ago. I'll put that on folks. No one was calling that a month ago. But Bregman contract, man, I need to watch more baseball. But wasn't it like 3 years, 90 mil? Is that right? Does that sound right? Let's look it up. I don't remember. Oh, 5 years, 100 mil? Ooh. Or no, wait. 3 years, 120? Is that what it is? Is that right? 3, 120? Yeah. That's crazy. That's a crazy contract, honestly. For 3 years? What's that? 40 a year? Is that like crazy for baseball? Sorry, but is that like good? Bad? Like, does he deserve it? Do you think he deserves it? I know he's a great player, Bregman. He's on all those World Series teams, right? I'm so bad. I need solid money. Yeah, no, that is solid money. I mean, he's a star player, right? Like he's legit. And he plays. What does he play? Shortstop? Is that right? I don't. Clearly, I don't know baseball, but That's a great segue. That's a great segue. Let's keep. All right. So we're just gonna talk about what's next with the show. Oh, he's third baseman. I don't know. I like it especially to Boston. Who do they have at third base right now? Exactly. All right. So what's next for the show? Right. So obviously, football season is officially over. So what's coming next? So obviously, the obvious thing we have is NBA. I love the NBA. I know a lot about the NBA. So NBA is going to be probably the main thing we focus on moving forward, kind of. We're going to mix it up. So NBA, the MLB is about to start. So obviously we're going to focus a little bit on the MLB. I know I just got exposed for not being a ball knower right there. But the MLB is coming next. We have a great show in store for next week with our first guest on the podcast. So stay tuned for that. Really good stuff coming for the MLB. So give me the MLB next week MLB show. So yeah, we're going to talk about the MLB. We're going to do more mock drafts, obviously, especially as it gets closer to April. Spring games are about to be played in college football. We're going to take a look at those, see what the spring transfer portal looks like. I'll go into depth more about the draft, like my top 10 position players, top 10 wide receivers, running backs, edge rushers, linebackers, guards, tackles, safeties, DBs as a whole. All that good stuff we're going to get into. The Masters is coming up soon in March, I believe. So we're gonna do a little special show for that. Can't wait for that. We just got a lot of big stuff planning. We're gonna get more into gambling as well. We've been on a pretty good hit streak on Prize Picks for the NBA. We're gonna hopefully parlay that. Hey, what a fun! We're gonna parlay it into the MLB. We got big things planned with gambling in the MLB. We'll go ahead and give you guys a sneak peek of that. So, thoughts on Great Clips as a business? Twin, you tell me. I think they got me right. I love Great Clips. Shout out Milledgeville Great Clips. Anyways, we'll give you guys a little sneak peek on what we have planned for the MLB season. Gonna be pretty exclusive stuff here, so you guys are gonna get a very exclusive look at what I have planned moving forward for the podcast. So let's take a look here. Sorry, gotta get into this real quick. If it pops up, should. Aha, you got it. All right. Sorry guys, it's making me sign in. Bear with me here. Do they have Devers at third? Right now, Stu? All right, let me pull this up. All right, so for the MLB this season, a little sneak peek. We got, I don't know if you guys can see this, I can zoom in. We got, a little template going. So basically what we're going to do this for, these are all the starting pitchers in the MLB. I'll probably add relievers on here as well. But all the starting pitchers in the MLB, their strikeout over under, what the line is, their hit rate, the walks allowed, pitching outs. I'm sure I just need to look at it when the lines come out officially for opening day. But yes, we're going to track all of this, and we have it for hitting as well. Got the projected starting lineups. Obviously, we have a couple more slots for platoon guys and guys who are hurt. So we're going to be tracking it all the lines so we can find the locks. Kind of a big undertaking, but I'm here for it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, obviously for batting, we got hits, strikeouts, walks, I'm sure I need to add total bases on here. But yeah, we're going to track this all so we know who's hot, the trends. The trends are what the most, no one's going to tell you this, but the trends are what's most important for betting on sports like the NBA and MLB, where teams stay hot, players stay hot for weeks. So you need to watch the trends, and that's what we're doing here. This is going to be pretty exclusive, though. So we may do a little membership thing here where, we charge a little 10 schmackers for the locks, but it's all going to be great. I can't wait. We're probably gonna roll this out a couple weeks into the MLB season. So yeah, just real secret stuff here. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. 7:00. Feel free to drop any questions in chat. A little time for some real spiel. A little Q&A time if you guys have any more questions, any more dying sports needs you guys want to know about. Please let me know, because I'd love to let you guys know. We could take a look at Prize Picks real quick. You guys want to take a look at Prize Picks? Let's take a look at Prize Picks. Why not? All right, let's take a look at Prize Picks. So, MLB last night was kind of rough for us. I'm not gonna lie. Let's take a peep. So obviously we got this win on the 11th. This Embiid and Duran is great. Whatever. I did this $5 power for Dyson rebounds. Just missed. I usually do Dyson assists too. Didn't hit, but that's fine. Yeah, that was rough. That was a rough call there by me on the Zion rebounds. But the one that hurts the most, I don't usually dabble into demons, but I did for this one. The demon lay, $10, 6.5 times multiplier. Put $10 on it. I was very confident. John Collins hits the over. Rui hits the over 3-pointers made. But Cat assists, 0.1 assist short. It was so brutal. I was so sick. A game that went to OT too. It's just so rough. But that's what happens. So, we're gonna make it work. We got 2 lineups tonight that are about to start. Oh, well, that one's gonna get refunded. But that's not the one I'm most confident in. This is the one I'm most confident in. I put $20 on it. We got this Ant discounted line, 21.5, and the Sabonis discount rebounds at 11.5. This is my lock for tonight. This is what I love. So hopefully that wins. We get all of our money back from last week, or from yesterday, sorry. So that's what I'm rolling with right now. Yeah, that's the locks. Let's go ahead and sign out, shall we? Thank you guys for coming on again to That's All an Awful Take. Episode 14, Mock Draft 2.0. Big stuff this week. We love that. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you guys week in and week out. Number 1 supporters right here. I love it. Next week, we're going to have a special guest on the show. So get excited. You guys are going to love it, I'm sure. I'm going to love it especially. It's going to be an MLB-focused show, so heavy MLB. So if you guys love baseball, please pop in. Please watch. Tell your friends to pop in if they love baseball. I'm going to be getting schooled knowledge-wise. We just saw it there. We're going to see it again next Thursday. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys. So make sure you follow the podcast on Instagram, TikTok, TAAT Pod. Yeah, I need to come up with a more official outro. So yeah, if you like sports content, if you enjoy awful takes, then this is a podcast for you, right? Y'all have a great night. Don't party too hard. I know it's Thursday. All right, y'all have a good one.